Okay, I'm continuing with, just checking, funny, it's just coming up, with the chapter 4 on thinking with your body about filters and how to recognize them through the body language particularly. I may have to pause midway on this recording as well because my car's ready at the garage and I was going to cycle there, hence the cycle gear. But the guy who's helping me with gardens offered to give me a lift when he's finished, and I think given the heat it might be a good opportunity, so I'm going to stop when he comes. Hold the book up a bit more this time just so that I'm looking a bit more directly at you. You don't have to look at me, although I was indicating the eye movements in the last bit, but otherwise you can just use audio. So spotting the filters, this is a key one in many contexts. Yeah, just so many times I just constantly draw on this. So in chapter 3 I explained some of the different filters we use to think and communicate. And so they were things like match and mismatch and associated, dissociated. We can detect these filters through our language, and we can deduce somebody's way of thinking by patterns in their body language. Sometimes people say, well, how is NLP like? How does it relate to things like Myers-Briggs and personality tests? Well, it's a way of doing that stuff real time without the need for questionnaires and all that gumph. It's a way of looking at what you're witnessing, either in yourself or in other people, and go, there's the pattern. And of course, the patterns can change. So whereas with something like Myers-Briggs, which is great, you get like a code, I'm an INTJ. No, I'm not, but it's an example. And people sometimes stick with those codes rather than recognizing there are underlying persistent patterns and they change as well. So remember that patterns are only clues, not absolute proof. It's our awareness of patterns in body language, verbal language, and our knowledge of a person over time that enables us to get closer to what's really going on in their thinking. Nevertheless, the more we read the signals, the more we are likely to choose the way of communicating with each person we encounter that will enable us to relate to them effectively. It's like learning a person's unique language. It just helps you understand, why people do things the way that they do as well, or how they do things the way they do. So first one is associated, dissociated. It's funny, I was just talking about that in my kind of thoughts for the day, and that's another series of videos in the way we take different perceptual positions. I'll come on to that in this book. So in chapter 3, I described how we might be associated, engaged in what we're saying and thinking by experiencing situations as if we're from our own shoes, from our own perspective, standing in our own shoes. In this state, we're connected with our feelings. Or we can be dissociated, observing and listening to events as if we are a fly on the wall. In the latter state, we're disconnected from our emotions. Our body language changes dramatically according to which of these states we're in. So in meetings, you can detect those people who are in an associated state because they usually lean forward and they gesture immediately and animatedly to show their feelings. They often interrupt as they're, I was distracted, I think of Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain, very associated. They often interrupt as their emotions rule their actions. Apologies for those who are in other countries, it's a UK TV morning programme and he's renowned for interrupting. When talking about feelings, they often hold their hands to the chest, close to the heart. In contrast, somebody who's dissociated is usually sitting or leaning back. It's kind of very objective. I suppose in the current context, the health minister that broadcasts on British TV, he's like something from Star Trek, like an android really. He doesn't show any emotions, which may be desirable in a medical doctor, I don't know. So by putting some distance between themselves and the situation, they keep themselves objective. Doesn't mean they're right though. They do this mentally as they do it physically. When dissociated, they often talk about themselves and point to themselves as if to an imaginary self in the air in front of them. They'll often say you know, well, you do this in this situation, meaning I. Try selling to somebody who stays in a dissociated state, and you'll probably find it's hard, if not impossible. For most people, the decision to buy is associated with a feeling. And the skill in this kind of influencing situation lies in knowing how to achieve this and recognizing when you have it. So I was just talking to the guy who does my garden, the big jobs in the garden for me. And he's got an awful lot of the underbranches off an olive tree. He has a very persuasive way of making it, everything he does, he just cut through a cable as well, of making everything he does be okay, because he just has a way of communicating. He gets away with stuff. He's very good as well. Next filter is problem state or desired state, sometimes known as away from or towards. This is a key one. It's all key, I suppose. The ease or tension we hold in our body is a result of how we think. If you think for a moment about something you must or should do today, and notice what happens in your body as you do this, like, I've got to go and get my car. Well, I haven't got to go and get my car, but it's ready. And if I don't go and get it now, I'd have to go on Monday because they're going to be closed, I think, now. In France, if they have a bank holiday, it's on Thursday, which is tomorrow, they do what they faire le pont, which means they take the day in between the bank holiday and the weekend as well. So now it's then like Thursday, Friday, Saturday maybe open again. Sunday they're all closed. Oh, there's my gardening guy. I'm just going to check and see if he's going just yet. So I'm just going to pause and dissociate from this recording to associate into getting my little car back, and then resuming